There was no production designer. It was a one-man show. So, of course, there is the art director.
So it is Mr. Ray all the way.
It is the art director and the costume. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about
the costumes,
art design and the costumes.
The art design, of course. I mean, I think the art design is a production designer. It's kind of a combination in India.
It was Ray himself. So there's no production design.
Exactly. But he would talk to the art design, art director. And I mean, if you look at like even Bhupati's, if you go to Bhupati's press room, we go to his press and it's so meticulous. It's like those press rooms and he's getting those press things. They were so well placed, exactly how you would want a press room. And he will go to his office. They were all scattered. His papers are here and there. There's a typewriter and he's writing. And then there is these, this new, the independence morchas are going to come out. Even I'm going jumping. I'll be jumping scenes. So
can I interrupt you for 1 second? This just an information I want to add. Ray's father, I think, had a printing press.
Yes.
And which shut down when he was 2 years old. So he has that remembrance also. Of course, must be there in Tagore's book as well. But he has that remembrance. Yeah, please continue.
Of course, and I mean, if you see all this, it's all so. I mean, he kept it so. It was so precise. Like everything was like he didn't let like things slide. It was kept like it didn't happen. Okay, if it's not there, how we have today. अरे नहीं है तो छोड़ दो कुछ नहीं दिखेगा. हम लोग side में दिखे. That does not happen in Ray's. I think he was very precise. I also somewhere read that he was so precise, he would actually sit outside and record sounds of birds. And then he would come back and he would say, okay, I want exactly these sounds put in. That's how Ray works. I think that's what meticulous is. Because cinema is, if you want to be, 100 years from now, even I think whoever is going to watch Ray, even later on, next few generations later also, they will relate because of this preciseness and because of this way of meticulous work that he has put in. Because that makes it timeless, I think.
You don't need 100 crore budgets.
No.
For a grand production design, for a meticulous, precise, fantastic.
Exactly.
Each and everything is in place.
Exactly. And going back to those, I don't know if you remember in his in the furniture. I mean, that's Ray's, I think, forte, because even in Music Room, which is one of my other favorite films, he's very, very, he knows his furnitures very well. He knows those very Bengali zamindar, the beds that came in, and that's how she was. The durbin she holds is so beautifully put together. I mean, everything is so meticulously done. When they're singing the piano, and that she's coming in the piano, the grand piano is there when she's singing Chini Go Chini. Ami chini go chini tomare o go bideshini. See, I think every director has a vision, and of course, but vision is one thing particular, but it also needs a little bit of living in. I didn't feel like they were just made for a set, for advertising sets. I felt like we're living in there. It was there, but it was not so precise that it would feel like it was not living through. Because that is what it's not. The director was a production designer, there was no the art director, the cinematographer, and the director came together and said, let's make it a living place. It does not even has to be spick and span. It could be perfect. No, it wasn't perfect. It was lived in, and that makes it interesting, and that makes it believable. And
even
that's
the costumes. Even the costumes were lived in.
Yes, they were lived in. I mean, I was reading somewhere, Madhabi Mukherjee, or they bought in, I mean, some of the saris that Ray used were his wives, I think. And Madhabi also bought, the actress who's playing Chaurahen, some of the saris, she had brought in one or two. So it's that characters owned it. The characters owned it. It's not like I put it out there for you. No, you have to own it. The day they own it, you believe in it.
but still they were looking like of that period. I can't comment much about the costumes, but what I can say is that they were not looking like we are now, or maybe they were looking of some other period as well,
Yeah,
but lived in,
but the
and they were
period,
so
but
beautiful, and they were so beautiful even in black and white. You could see the prints on the
exactly the
sarees.
blouses, the pins on the saris, the blouses with the ruffle. I mean, that was the style. I mean, I think Guru Dutt was also kind of, I think, enamored, or was a little. He also used it in his Sahib Bibi Gulam. He's taken a little bit of those things from Charulata. I think in his, he was also an admirer of Ray, because I feel like some places, some shots of Charulata's when she's looking in the mirror, are reflected of in Gurdat's Sahib Bibi or Gulam, right? But as I said, I still felt, and I'll be honest, I still felt Charulata was more lived in and more real than even that film, though it's a classic by itself. But here it was more, I felt like, I don't know what it was. Maybe the way he ruffled it, maybe he felt, okay, the sari has been worn, maybe get it. I mean, he didn't keep it so precise. That's what I always say. Production design does not mean it has to be perfect. I'm not advertising the house. It has to be lived in. It has to be clear, but it has to have those walls that has to a little crack, and it's that makes it an interesting, because
Yes,
then
yes,
it will, even in a even in a grand palatial house, there will be cracks in the house, there will be little things. I think that what makes Ray different from the other.
and
And costumes in this film is mind blowing. Whether it be Amol's, even Bhupati's costumes, even Nanda's costumes, and she's letting, you can see the differences between Nanda. Sorry, it's Manda's costume and
no, each
Charu.
and
They're very different. They're
yeah,
different. They are very, very. They're not same. And Manda is a very loud woman, so you can see the costumes a little bit different. They keep it at keeping her character in view. So I think that's very important, that even in a black and white film, you could make out that these are two different characters, and they would never wear the same kind of saris, or they would
yes,
never wear. So it's
yes,
very well placed. Bhupatis were much more sober. He kept it very clean line, whereas Omol, it was a little more, I would say gay. I mean, I would be more flamboyant. He was a little flamboyant. He comes in, he has a little mustache, he's wearing always white, and he always is nicely, his kurtas are a little bit engraved. It's very, very small things that are very, very put together. I think costumes are very important, especially in a period piece, that keep a little bit look. And I think it was very well put together in this film.
yes,
But I think Ray does it in every, almost all his. If you see even Satranj Ki Khilari, he was very, very. His costumes are fantastic. I mean, I know you're smiling, but yeah, it's. I mean, I mean, it's a
no,
great book. It's a
I saw
really
it
good.
recently. Shatranj Ke
Uh,
Khiladi, I saw it recently.
yeah, so it's. I know people. I mean,
Again,
people will not notice. People will not notice the costumes, but I noticed the costumes. I was
yes,
like,
yes,
what beautiful costumes! I mean, look at those hats, and this. These two people are sitting. I thought it was fantastic. The hookahs, the cost. I think that's fan. I mean, it's amazing. If I have to do a period
yes,
piece, I
yes.
would refer them as.
Yes, and when I was watching Charulata again, to talk to you, then again I noticed the costumes in detail, and in different scenes, different kinds of patterns and colors also.
Yes,
If you remember the scene towards the end, before the end, where he tells Amal to get married to some
yeah,
girl in Cordoba, and then she's wearing a black shade, a darker shade, and
darker shade.
the darker shades, the film, she goes on, and when
And
the
then in
music
the end, she's wearing
party
a
is
very,
happening, when the
yeah,
party is happening, she's wearing a very dark shade, and that is also so beautiful, from light to dark.
Lights going to
I'm just
because
realizing
that's
it
a
now.
yeah, because it's there, and it's and in the end she's almost wearing a black kind of a sari, if you remember. She's wearing the, I remember it, I
In the
mean, in
party
my
scene,
head
definitely party
yeah,
scene.
in the part, that black sari, and it's slowly getting into that zone because that's where she is going. It's her character has gone into that zone, like she's not coming out of her
No,
misery,
but it
you know.
was making her look very beautiful in that party scene where
Beautiful,
everyone was
that's what I'm saying.
well dressed.
Yeah, it's very, but my thing is it's in costumes, or if you color palette also, he was playing with the color palette even before today, but he was trying to even set the tone of the character was moving, so
Yes,
everything comes,
she
you
was.
don't you yeah, so it's not like, okay, I want to make her to look beautiful, but it was coming because her character was moving, her her character graph was going that side. So I think he knew where he wanted and how he wanted there. So I think that's what makes any film stand out, or any film when you are doing is you keeping that in mind. When we talk to our students or filmmakers who are coming out, when you're thinking of doing costumes, don't randomly put it there. Don't, but think of how your progression, maybe that will give a little idea. It's very subtle, these are subtle messages. I mean, advertisement uses it so well in their, in the field of advertisement. I mean, media uses it, and I think it's also can be done in films. That's the most interesting thing, is that you kind of use that for your graph. You use costume, you use color, you to show the emotional turmoil of the character. And I think that's fantastic what you just said. Yes, her colors changing, she's going from a light sari to lighter, and even her, if you remember, her makeup has also changed, her jewelry is less, everything is getting into a very it's a very interesting kind of a
No,
transition.
very interesting thing you mentioned relating the emotion to the costumes, because I just clicked now when you spoke about it, that as her fondness is increasing, for Amal, with each
Yeah,
passing scene, with each passing moment,
yeah,
dressing is also changing.
yes.
You're moving to darker tones, but also she's looking beautiful. That's a aside. That's a aside. But you're moving to darker tones and more sure, more confident of her. It's the attraction is increasing day by day.
And also the sexuality, like if you see Amol and her, like she's going dark and he's going light, he's always keeping a very very monotone. He even if you always see, they're always playing this equal balance. So somehow the more he comes into her life, more he's trying being part of her emotions, the more her colors are getting vivider, and her makeup, I assume it's makeup that is making her more, giving it more of a more beautiful kind of. I think her makeup was changing, the dark circles were being replaced, and her hairstyle and her jewelry, everything was very meticulously put together. Even she was, her saris and her blouses were very looked into, you know what I mean. So I think even for that matter, even Omol was doing that. His clothes were getting interesting. He came with he's very straight laced, but it was kind of like, he was making an effort. So I think that's something we really must, the costumes. But it is such a beautiful costume drama. Like even the dhotis they were wearing, they were so well in the Bengali Bhadralok dhotis. Even when they were doing that whole morcha that was going to happen, how it was all, I think everything was kind of thought and put together. But it was not meticulous. I thought it's meticulous, but it was not like, it didn't feel plastic. That's where I was going.
It
It
suited the
didn't feel
character.
plastic.
It
it
suited the
felt it
characters.
felt like I was living in a world that they lived in. It was a lived in world, and I was living in it.
ভূপতি সাহেবের মতন পুরো ড্রেসিং করতো, খুব ভালো
Ah.
সাসপেন্ডার্স.
Exactly. And
I
in British,
I
the British, the old British Bhadra log, the British have, there's a thing, no? The British have gone but left the Bengalis behind. So,
but he was an intellectual and he was writing against the
exactly.
British, which
Yes, but he wrote in their language, So that's but it's because it's set in the early 19th century. That time, still the British. I mean, the upper class Indians, or the class, were very much part of the British culture. So even if you vote against them, you still wear their costume. You still adapt to their culture. So that's how Bhupati was.
yes, and
I
each
think
and
that's
every
what makes it.
hmm,
That's what
he-
makes him what he is as a character.
yes,
Also,
yes, 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 and each and every department in the film makes it the cinema.
I think costume, sound. I think sound was one. Oh, music! How can we forget the music? The music
Just
of this film.
before you start off with the music, let me just conclude this costume part with one
Yeah.
thing. I'll just like to share with you a measure scene of the
Huh,
part of which was part of the costume. There's
huh,
again this scene when he's telling her to get married to the girl in Burdwan, and so he'll get a chance to go abroad. He will get a chance to go to London and become a barrister and whatnot. So he says, Amal says this thing very musically, Mediterranean, if you remember.
yes. Yes.
And,
Yes.
and after that shot, when he says Mediterranean, we see the close up of Madhabi's hair bun,
Yes.
the bun
Yes. Yes.
is part of the costume, and he says
Yes.
Mediterranean, and cut to the her head goes like this. Only the back portion of her head, Mediterranean, and her head goes like this. It was
Yes.
beautiful, and that is, of course, the hairstyle is also part of the costume, and
Exactly.
like
And it
Vertigo,
and
Vertigo also costume played a very important. Suddenly, it's just coming back to my mind.
And remember, he gets Amol wears these when he's singing Amichi, he's wearing this Nehru collar kind of kurta with stripes. He's so it shows how young, uh, flamboyant kind of a character he is. I think very very stylish. Very similar, very opposite to Bhupati. I think all of that makes it interesting. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Amal. If you talk about Amal's style, Amal's entry is also grand with the
Yeah, when he comes,
jhod coming and
Jhor.
hello
Exactly.
Murari.
That is the thing. Almost Jhor is like, he's the Jhor in the character. Na? He's the typhoon in the family of this family that is going to fall apart. So he's going to say, he's like the guy who's going to make this lady, she's like a typhoon to her very subservient, lonely life.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is,
And
makes it interesting.
yeah, we say lonely, but and some people might associate loneliness with boredom or slowness, but this film is not slow at all. For those, maybe by chance, if someone has not seen it and he would like to see it, this is not a boring or slow or you film. It moves at a very fast pace. The
Yeah,
screenplay
yeah.
is very
And
very
like, as I
fast.
said, if you remember, like whenever we are seeing Amol, I mean, I'm going back to, I keep working on these costumes. Like, you see him in plain kurtas, and then you come back and you get into striped kurtas. I mean, I think it's fantastic. All these, the references and putting them, he gets. It's like two peacocks. I mean, I don't know how to explain this to you, but it's like two peacocks showing you the best of their feather before they start. It's the mating season or something like that. So I think it was just that's what I think Ray was trying to say. Let me put my finest and let me put your, because both were attracted to each other, right? Both the characters. So I thought that was something that costume did for them, because they could not do anything other than that. They could only flaunt what they're wearing and show it with that
One
going
of your
with.
favorite
Um,
departments of filmmaking.
yeah, I
I know
love
that.
costume. uh,
But at the
yeah.
same time, I found the song Ami Chini Go
Ah,
Chini very sensual. You said we
Yes.
cannot do anything, but at the same time, that song, there's a very sensual feeling in that song.
But there are so many beautiful songs in Charulata, you know. I mean, Chini Go Chini is the most beautiful of the lot, and sung by Kishoda. But I think it's like it's the serenade. No, he's serenading his lover. So I think that nothing, it cannot go. I mean, it has to be sensual, and it was, I think it was so beautifully. Both the actors, the actors portrayed it so beautifully.
Let's talk about the
I
performances. You wanted to talk about the performance.
oh, let's talk about them. I mean, Madhabi Mukherjee playing Charu. I mean, I fell in love with Madhabi Mukherjee, even though I'm a woman. I just fell in love with her in this film.
Very underrated,
She
I feel. She
was,
is very underrated.
yeah, but she always came in his films, and somehow I felt she was, remember her in
Mahanagar.
Mahanagar. I loved her in Mahanagar, and she was so fan. I mean, I remembered her in Mahanagar, and she was such a modern woman, and that, and here she's
Precise expressions,
this
precise expressions.
very precise, and the joy she sees when she's with when she first sees Amol, then slowly her transition, her angst of not telling him what she feels when she hears. I mean, this is through her eyes only. She does not have anywhere else to kind of tell. She cannot show it. She cannot hug him. She cannot do anything, but she has to show that she loves him. The distance she feels from her husband, Shoilin Mukherjee, I mean, who played Bhupati, his restraint, acting as Bhupati, trying to kind of find his own, his lack of understanding of his own brothers, who actually stab him at his back, and he's trying his guilt of not giving time to his wife and realizing that why she went to another man. I think that it shows so much depth for these performances, and they are not these these are not, I mean, they are great performers, but I think it's hats off to Satyajit Ray as a filmmaker to get these performance out of these actors. Soumitra Chatterjee, Amol's character, I never saw him as this flamboyant character. I always, because we've seen him in the, those films, whereas he, in Apu's, in the Apu trilogy, and I mean, you remember him as Apu, you remember him as, the serious man, and the 60s were about that. And here's this guy, he's with the little mustache, which he actually did. I mean, I think it's so well done. I would see Uttam Kumar doing this role, but imagine Soumitra Chatterjee doing it.
When she looks at him through his binoculars in one shot, he was looking absolutely very handsome. His profile was
Exactly.
shown and his hairstyle and
Exactly.
really
But
very
it's
smart.
more, but it's the way he performed, like the way he's like so flamboyant, the way he moves, he comes and he sleeps and he sits and he there's something about him, the way he carries himself. I think that itself says a lot about the actor. He molds himself. He molds into the character. He does not say, okay, I've come here, I'm going to be playing this. He goes, and and that is Soumitra. I mean, in nobody, I mean, an actor like him, and he is a director's actor. If you remember, they are a combination. They are like
Absolutely.
Scorsese and De Niro, but this one's where
Ray
like,
overpowers.
exactly. And it's the same guy who can play Devi's husband in Devi, and so being so curt and think, yeah, I want it this way, and he gets angry. And here he plays this flamboyant character. He's so easy, and he realizes the guilt when he realizes that he can't tell her that even he feels for her, but he can't tell her, and the guilt he feels, the feelings he has for her. I think it's so well portrayed in their close-ups, in their facial expressions. I think, and even I would say the secondary characters, the lady who played Monda, the everybody, whoever were there, they were so beautiful, and they all came. But I also see that nothing can go wrong when you have a Ray as your director, I think. So I think he is very, very, particular and with his actors. After Madhavi, it was Sharmila Tagore who was his other actress. So it's Madhavi Mukherjee or Sharmila Tagore who always portrayed most of his women characters. I mean, I can't see anybody else who can do this justice, you know.
I feel Madhabi is not celebrated as much as maybe Soumitra.
Yeah, I think Soumitra Chatterjee has done much more films of race
Of
than
course.
his,
But
and Madhavi has done about maybe two or three I think with Ray. There's this one, and I think there's Mahanagar, and the
they
other
stand
one I
out.
don't remember.
They stand out.
Yeah, to me, she's the epitome of a Bengali woman. But that's what I felt. It was very interesting. She comes across, and that's I think that's another genius thing about Ray is that she comes across as such a lovable character. So even if she falters as she does, you forgive her. You forgive her because of her how she is. She's not the most beautiful woman. She is beautiful, but it's a different kind of a beauty. It's more down to earth. I can feel that beauty. I don't feel it's not a Vogue beauty. It's not like in the magazine Vogue, and it's that not selling beauty. It's a I know these kind of beauties.
So maybe she's
This
not
is
as celebrated as Suchitra Sen or Aparna Sen, or I have not heard so much about her in Bengal. Also, is she a lot
I think she
celebrated in
was.
Bengal?
I think she is. Madhavi Mukherjee is celebrated in Bengal, and she's well liked as an artist. She also chooses her roles very very. She was not the mainstream actress. I think she would do films on and off, and come out. I think that's what her thing was. She was known for her acting and not for the star status, I think.
So you wanted to say something about the music of the film?
So the two songs that I really feel have a lot to say about. Of course, the music is recreated by Satyajit Ray. Like the background music is fantastic. I mean, it's so well put together. The strings and everything. But the two songs that I would talk about Robindra Sangeet. One is Tumi Chini Go Chini, which is the piano piece, and you know the serenade, the song which the Romeo is singing for his Juliet, on a piano. I think that's and sung by the amazing Kishore Kumar. I think that song is so, as you said earlier, is so sensual. There is nothing. There is just one. He's singing. She's walking down. I mean, we've seen this in many Hindi films in the '60s, but this in itself, if you remember the song, it stands out because it's like the song also is saying a lot. It's just not a song. There is a meaning to that song, and he's saying that I know you, and the way he sings, it's not like with lot of percussions and stuff. He's just there's a piano and it's his voice. It's very real. I think it just takes you to another level, and everybody, whoever's gone to the theaters, or I mean, who has not, they remember that film because of that song. Everybody, nobody I know. I mean, I think everybody knows that this song goes with this movie. It's not got a lot of orchestration or anything. It's just voice and one piano piece. I mean, imagine doing that. I mean, I'm putting and it making, and that's a very famous song, Robindra Sangeet. And now today, if you think of that song, you think of the movie. I think it's fantastic when you think of the song and with the movie, and then how it's blended it so well. Because this movie, this character has to sing this song for this character, and
And
that is, I think, what.
also the picturization helped.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, Chini Go Chini, the way it's picturized, it's. I mean, nobody can. I mean, I can't see a wrong going here. Yeah, and the way even Soumitra, how he's lip syncing to that song. He did it so beautifully. I would say it's one of the most beautiful love songs ever. Love songs. It's better than many love songs that we see in the rains and all that rubbish. But here's a love song, and it says so much without saying. So I always think of, I mean, when I see this song, There's a scene in Persona, if you remember, where the two women are talking about, it was most central scene of Persona, where that Igmar Bergman has these two women on the beach, and they're talking about, how they had actually had an affair with these younger boys, and they made love, and they actually never show, we never see that, but it's through voice that we actually imagine the whole scene. And I feel this is another another take of another scene of two lovers that we never really see the lovers ever meet, or but it is that song has taken you to another level of these two lovers, where you don't want to see Bhupati, when you don't want to see anybody but just Charu and Amal, just them together, and this in this this that's what I feel, and that's how I would imagine this when, and that's how I think that's where the song takes you. And I think that's what he was trying to. There's another song, which is very interesting song, is Phule Phule Dole Dole, which is another Rabindra Sangeet, and this is sung during the swing. And it's a very, very joyous song. But I feel there is a sexuality in that song. When you're in that swing, and it's such a merry song. The camera is moving, and as we discussed the camera movement, I feel it kind of shows the merriment of two lovers coming together. So again, like I was thinking of Krishna, Radha Krishna, and I feel like that's the zone of this thing was going on. But I don't know if that's what he had in mind. But that's what I was thinking of, that the whole idea, you've always seen the images of Krishna and Radha on a swing, and or Krishna on a swing, and so that's how I also see this song. And the song that is going in is a very, it's a song that is sung during season changes in Calcutta. It's a season, it's a Saraswati Puja, where mostly they wear yellows and the season is changing. That's the song. Season is changing. And it's a song that is sung during the season change. So I think that's a very, very, the two songs that I felt was
Very
very,
interesting
very
point of season change, because that's when I felt in that scene that now the crush is established.
Yeah.
From a screenplay point
The
of
love
view,
is, yeah.
I had no idea about the Saraswati Puja thing and with season change. But at this point, I noted, yes, there is a definite crush now which is established. So there is a change.
I felt I didn't see there was a crush. I felt it was now, I've declared, like there is
of course,
a more than a crush, I think.
Love.
Yeah, passion. I would say passion. But yeah, so there was a lot of passion here. And I think it was very, very evident. The passion comes in and she's ready to show that her feelings for him. The season changed. Her own feelings change. So I feel use of music is so well placed.
So and the song is not an accident.
It is not an original. It's not an accident. It's not an original song. It is a song already done. So you're using something that is from a library, two songs from a library, using it in a film, and making them a part of your film. I think that's fantastic. How many of us do that? We always want to go in and make a new song that will, people will remember, which of course half of the people don't remember. But nevertheless, you want them to remember. But this is a song, it's already there. And then I'm making you remember because you're part of the, that's amazing. That's kudos to the filmmaker and the music director, which is himself. So I think, he chose the right songs and the right songs portraying the right emotional graph and the emotional graph of the characters. So for me, going back to the first, what is the coming of age? This for me is Charulata's coming of age. Charu's coming of age story, where Charu realizes that she's a woman, that she also has feelings, that she can also fall in love, that she can also desire. I think that's what this film is. And this is what the filmmaker, the Satyajit Ray, the maestro, takes it and he lets her live it. It's her world, her perspective. She sees the men in her world, how they don't perceive her, she perceives them. It's an equal balance. and the
Yes.
songs and the thing, it's very well placed together.
You have beautifully put across the main theme of the film, Charu's coming of age and her
It is.
desires and her gaze.
It is
But yes,
her choice of whether
yes,
who to love and where to love and who to fall in love. It is her choice, and I think that's where we are as we are progressing in our filmmaking, in our storytelling. We need to give that perspective, the woman's choice. What is she feeling? Not just in few lines. It is through camera work, through music, through other things. Equalize it. When you equalize the characters, you will automatically see a lot of things will change, and you will not have all these patriarchal and masochistic and all kinds of things. That's kind of is the words that are going around, and feminism, and it's a these are important words. I'm not saying they're not, but also equality of two characters in a story is very interesting to see.
yes. And
And
I would
it
like to add a little bit of Bhupati's perspective. There are a lot of themes running around in the film. So, from Bhupati's perspective, there are a couple of things which Ray has tried to tell us. One is trust. There is a very thematic thing about trust in the film.
Yes.
And he says in a very important dialogue in the end to Amal that if we do not trust each other, if mankind, if human beings cannot trust each other, that if we cannot trust each other, if human beings cannot trust each other, then how do we
How do
function
you?
as a civilization? So that is one. And another very interesting thing I felt, which was very relevant today, about journalism. When he's talking about his press, and then somebody told him to put some masala in it,
Ah,
which is very much in vogue into 2020, and then he says no, that will lead to, that is kind of a prostitution. And also a very interesting political thing which is still relevant in 2020, when he's writing against the British, and Amal tells him that that will be sedition. Tomake police dorbe to, if what is the, and he says that uh, writing against your government doesn't mean that you are disloyal. So some very interesting points about sedition and trust, and just
and
adding
it's an
to
I
just
think every
sub themes of the film.
of course, and I think it's that's the most dialogues. That's what I was telling you earlier. Also, like dialogues and the way he has written his characters and the way he is put, it is so relevant today, and we are facing the similar, the same challenges and the same struggles. Really, I mean, these are
That's
dialogues I would say today's some of us filmmakers are using it, and imagine that is the time. Or are they using it? No, they may not be. But you know what? They should be.
That's the beauty
This
of
should.
cinema. That's the beauty of cinema. That 50
That's
years
the
down the
extent.
line, you are remembering a timeless film. The cinema has that capacity to become timeless and to be used by every generation, seen by every
That's what I'm saying.
generation, impacted by every generation. So films and filmmakers should strive towards. We might not
That is
achieve
what it.
that. We might not achieve that, but we
But
must
that's
always
what we
strive
should
to make our
strive.
work
Timeless,
little timeless,
little timeless. But
not just
that's what a film.
popcorn. Yeah.
That's
But
what
at the
I'm
same
saying. It
time, but at the
cannot
same
just.
time,
It.
entertaining. But at the same time,
Yeah. I mean,
entertaining. Ray
I
was very
think
wary of his producers. He wanted the producers to get back the money. He was not living in some fantasy art world.
exactly, and the thing is, it's not about that. He see, Ray always made. He wanted his audience to see it. He wanted people. He is making film for the West Bengal or Bengali audience. He wants them to go to the cinema and enjoy the song, like Fule Fule, or he's watching Chini Go Chini. Why would he put these songs in there? So he chose music director to kind of express, because he knows these are the guys who will give that the weightage. Music is very important part of our Indian cinema. So he kept that, and Charulata, for that matter, has the lip sync also. He's given Kishore a very very commercial singer to come and do this. To sing for him. So he was very very sure of what he was, but he also made them timeless, and he made them so riveting, meticulous work, his meticulous way of making films, his perfectness of making films. To make it, that's what makes his stories are relevant, because his characters become immortal to me. They remain not only because of the surrounding. He makes the films, and his characters and his whole films become like a part of our everyday life, or it's like
And
classic.
yeah, and it resonates internationally at all levels for all
It
human
resonates.
beings
Yeah,
because
it
because
resonates
of
with
its
everybody,
because of its humanness, because of the human
because
qualities,
it's got,
because
exactly, it's a global, it's a global story. A story of a lonely wife is a global story. A story of a lonely individual, in not in a marriage or in any way, is very global. Today, it's most one of the most prevalent things that we are facing is loneliness. People, and imagine this set in the 60s, and about 56 years or 50 odd years ago, a director has actually showed you, or before that, even a writer has shown you what it feels like to live in that.
and the way Ray uses the language of cinema to portray
Yeah,
these things that only many films and many filmmakers might be making a similar kind of a story,
I
but the
agree.
way Ray uses the language of cinema, which appeals to a local audience as well as a international.
There was a film that really, put me on a back foot. It has a similar kind of a theme, uh, written by a young woman, and she was also trying to say, oh, the freedom, of a woman, and it was through a woman's point of view. But I could not identify myself. I could not identify with that woman. I couldn't, even though the character was today's woman, I could not relate to her. However, Charu, on the other hand, who is a much older character and is struggling, I could relate to her. I could see her falter. Why is it? It's just the way you have to give your graph, the way the filmmaker has taken you on this journey, the way the writer has made you understand the character. And she's so great. She's so great that you fall in love with her. And the way the director has portrayed her and given you her flesh and blood through the through cinema, I think it's very few people, very few filmmakers have done.
Yes, and every time you see it again and again, you fall in
It's
love more
always
and
new.
more with the film, and you discover something new. And more on Charulata, we can do more on Charulata because there's lots more to talk about. And also, I'm planning something with a cameraman, a student of Soumitra from SRFTI. I'm planning special on
Yeah,
the
that would
camera
be really,
cinematography, and
that would
maybe
be
would like
great.
to invite you as guest also on that uh,
No, that time
because
I'll hear it. I love to
uh,
hear what that person. I'm sure there are a lot of good things that he will bring up, and I would
yes,
love to learn
yes,
what is
yes,
there out there,
yes.
because those camera nothing. Um,
It's very nice
it's
and humble of
so
you, and
I
yes,
think
yes.
we did a good job of talking about Maestro,
I hope
amazing
he
films.
forgives us.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so too.
Oh,
But I
I hope
think,
he likes what we did. I don't know. Blessings. If his blessings are on us, then it will be great.
no, I think what a film to talk about. I think thank you for having me and to bring this film. It's like a dream come true to talk about this. As I said, as you said, we can go on talking all the night over for Charulata, about Charulata. But I think
No, thanks a lot to you, and I learned a lot also
thank you.
from you, and
Thank you so
lots of
much for
things more
having
to
me.
look forward to.
I hope the audience likes our little chit chat on or a
Yes,
chit
yes,
chat
and
on.
I would request the audience to whoever is watching, please leave a comment and share and like, and yes, and leave your thoughts about Charulata
Yeah, I think.
on the section. And those who have still not seen it, please do watch it with subtitles. Of course, if you're not Bengali, then you can watch it with subtitles. So thank you, Rajshri. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you, Kabir. For more such videos on filmmaking and filmmakers, like, subscribe, and share, and leave your comments to Cinema Satsang.